Hey, welcome back to 24/7 Moms Live with Trisha and
Steve.
with our unstoppable morning conversation. Aren't you going to say your morning like it's a pleasure? Wow, you shaved this morning. I just realized.
Well, thank you. I know. I got a big day on the tractor. That's why.
So you shaved for the tractor, not for me?
No, I just had to. Well, the last time I had a really good looking goatee, I gave you a kiss and you just about vampired my face with your nails.
Oh, it hurt so bad.
Yeah, I did. I decided I don't want to get vampire nails again.
I was just showing you how it pricks.
And-
Anyways, welcome back to 24/7 Moms.
Marriage issues. It was just small though.
Do you want to talk about it?
No.
How you walk up to me.
I'm still ticked. Anyway, it's good to be back with you guys today, and we are doing part 2 of part 1 of the Habits of a Thriving Family. But go ahead and get started.
Okay, so he's right. We're doing part 2 of we talked about yesterday about how just this habits or values or how to be intentional parents of the things that we have done during these many years of being a parent. We are on year 29, actually almost year 30 of being parents, which is amazing when I think about it. It's hard for me to believe I actually have kids that old. Anyway, so we talked about I think 4 or 5 of them yesterday. I can't exactly remember how many we talked about yesterday, but we have a few more that we would love to continue this conversation and sharing with you. It seems like a lot of people have those questions, like what are ways to be intentional as a parent? What are values or what are habits that we should include in our parenting journey? And like Steve and I talked about yesterday, that we gathered a lot of books and a lot of resources and a lot of information from others along our parenting journey. It's not like we sat down before baby number 1 was born and came up with this parenting plan, right? We came up with a birthing plan, right? With our birthing people, those classes we went to, but we did not have a parenting plan per se. It is one of those things that continues to grow with you because each child is so different. And I would say that one of the biggest mistakes you can make as a parent is raising each child exactly the same and not allowing them to be who God created them to be, and they're not little robots, but realizing that every situation and every way you discipline, every decision that you make for your kids could be different for each child. So we gather that information along the way, right? So when we were facing different situations, we would maybe get a book on it, or we would ask somebody that's gone before us along this journey, get wisdom from our own parents, get wisdom from our friends, other people, either peers or those that have gone before us. And so this is just a conglomeration of the things that we've learned and that we believe are part of our family habits and values.
Every child is different, but the values that you raise them by should remain the same. So how you apply that's where you have to decide what the needs of the child is. But let the values be the same. And the number one thing that we learn through experience and through coaching is that parents must remain consistent. They have to have the same messaging together, and you have to have the same value systems, the core beliefs that your family stands by. These are some of the things that are our values that we have in our family. And it can change from any kid to another. It doesn't matter their personality type. But how you deal with that, on more of a, I guess you would say, a micro level. That's where you got to be a little more careful in how you do it. Because some kids are super pliable. And then some kids are just obstinate. They're saying no before you even get it out of your mouth. So
it's just how they're wired. They're just wired differently, and we have to take that into consideration along the journey.
And isn't that cool that your kids are wired differently, that each of them is like a special creation that is ready to go tackle the world, and you get to help mold that.
Yep. Okay, so the first one that we want to talk about is celebrate as a family. This is kind of part of, I'm a little bit of a tradition junkie, as we've talked about before. I like to celebrate everything I possibly can, right? So now Easter's coming up, so I'm already been collecting things for Easter baskets and thinking about the ways that we will begin celebrating in a couple of weeks as we count down to Easter. And so that's kind of how I already am wired, is to want to have traditions and celebrations. So celebrate as a family has become a real key in part of our family values. And when it becomes birthdays, we're big on the birthdays. We do everything from the birthday fairy to the birthday breakfast to birthday dinners and all those kinds of things. And those are important for our kids, and they wait for that birthday fairy gift. If life is busy and let's say it's a school morning, they will wait for their birthday breakfast for Saturday. Like, they want that. That's super important to them.
They don't want to be rushed.
Right.
They want to have a moment. Because ultimately, deep inside, we all want to be known. And so we're helping them to be known in a proper way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
within their family.
Right. And you'll seek to be known in dark ways or wrong ways at school if you're not getting attention. And we're trying to give them the proper value of being known, because it's something we all want. Mm-hmm. But we need to do it in a way that would work with your family and your culture and help you rise as a leader rather than somebody that is some rebel spirit.
Right. And it gives them that self-confidence. It gives them that security. All those things are wrapped into it when they're celebrated. So some ways that we've celebrated in the past are birthdays, our holidays together, our wins, when something is great in their life, right? So Caleb, our fourth born, he has had some learning disabilities growing up. So when we hit the 5th grade, we realized this little guy was not ready to hit middle school. Middle school in our area starts at 6th grade. And that's a huge game changer for kids.
Yeah.
Because you've got kids that are 6th grade that literally walk in wanting to hold your hand, to 8th graders who are ready to go to high school. And that's such a huge adolescent change in their life. And so we made the decision. We did not think he was ready to move in 5th grade. One, academically, he wasn't ready. Emotionally, he wasn't ready. Socially, he wasn't ready. So we appealed to our school district. Our school district does not hold kids back. That is not part of what they do. They continue to move them forward and give them services that they need. But we felt like it was a really poor decision for him to move forward. So we appealed, and we went and we talked first to his teachers and to those that have worked with him, what we call his team, his IEP team, which means Individualized Education Plan. His IEP team, we talked to them first, and then we had to pull the district into it and sit down and have this conversation. The teachers all agreed with us. They were on our team agreeing with us, but they needed us to appeal it. And when we appealed it, we had to wait, and then we got this letter, and one day this letter arrived, and it said that Caleb could stay in the 5th grade the next year, that he could return to Discovery, his elementary school, since he was his entire school years so far, and he could return the next year and be in 5th grade. That night, we set the table like a party, and we celebrated that Caleb got to stay back in the 5th grade. Not that he had to stay back, not that anyone was forcing him, but he got to. He won. And that kid thought he won the lottery. He got to stay back. He didn't have to move on to
and think about your
school.
5th grade at elementary school. When I was in, for me it was 6th grade because that was our last year.
Mine too.
But your last year of elementary school, you are king of the school.
Yeah.
It's like every kid looks up to you in some capacity. You could be the dorkiest 5th grader or 6th grader, but a 1st grader is going to think you're like at God status.
Right.
And so to get to do that one more year and then to change the value of it in his mind of that this is a really cool thing. And I don't have any problem with holding kids back.
No.
It makes the next year so much more effective and easier. Mm-hmm. And honestly, you get a little extra year of life with them too. But I mean, that's the selfish part. But it was a great benefit for him. It really helped him a lot to where he is today.
Yeah. So anyways, that's just some simple ways. We, even when it's summer, we try to have celebrations during the summer, meaning gather as a family and spend time with grown-up adult children and children at home and children who live abroad and that are not in the same country as we are. When we are all in the same country, in the same city, in the same time, we really mark off our calendars and try to spend a few days together that's really dedicated to our family. Typically, we'll take off and go up to our cabin, and that way we're just having family meals together.
Right.
We're having those long, we love to have what's called the Turkish breakfast, which is where you put a whole bunch of different items on the table, and we can sit for a couple hours and just eat breakfast together and just talk and enjoy each other, playing lawn games together. Just really, and that's all celebrating as a family. We're celebrating each other. When John, our son-in-law, graduated with his master's degree, we wanted to celebrate that. And so when we were in Cairo, Egypt, it was Christmas time, and of course we have all the Christmas celebrations, but we stopped and took one evening where I believe it was at night or it was breakfast, one of the two, and we made a special meal for him. We had special gifts for him that were different aside from Christmas gifts, just to celebrate that he did this accomplishment, that he actually did his master's while he was even in Cairo, Egypt. He finished it up. And so that was really cool. And we wanted to honor that. So celebrating his family is honoring, is really bringing that whole sense of...
I got to say this too, just to toot your horn. You need to go to the website, 247moms.com, and just type in celebrations in the search. There is so much information. If you're going, man, I just get to that birthday time and I run out of ideas, or it's Easter, what do I do? And I don't have time to research this. Go to 247 Moms. Literally type in Easter or type in summer or type in holidays. I mean, there's like 15,000 articles in circulation.
And some of them are my ideas, and some are ideas I've gathered from other people around the world, and have created articles with those ideas so that you have one resource place to go to, and you don't have to go searching all over for them like I did, and you can actually just click on them and find them. So it might be, 10 Easter celebration ideas. And again, they're not all mine, and some of them are ones that we implement in our family, but they're great ideas that I've gathered for you to find.
Right. We just want you to have a place that you could find those 24/7 Moms needs to be a resource for you to do that. In a couple more weeks, hopefully you're going to see our new website. And all those same great articles are going to be there. We're just trying to get a new skin on it, which takes some time, by the way. And it's been a long working process. But we're excited. But go to 247moms.com to get some celebrate ideas and things that can really help you.
Okay, another one of our values, habits, is traveling and vacations with our kids. Since our kids were pretty small, we have been intentional about taking vacations with them. And some of those times were very budget focused, right? Like as pastors, when we were pastors, we had the opportunity every year, we could go to this place called Cannon Beach, and they offered a 2 or 3 night free stay. I think it was 3 nights for pastor families, for families in ministry. And so we would totally get in on that game. We would reserve it on the days our kids were off school.
We had to reserve it almost a year in advance.
Right. Well, they take reservations like in September, and you have to do it for that year. So we would have to know our kids' schedules right then. You get on the phone first thing in the morning, and you keep calling till you get through and hope that your week is open. But that was important to us. So we found inexpensive ways to travel and vacation. We've done the whole we've been doing the Airbnb thing before Airbnb existed. It was called Vacation by Owner, VBRO, Vacation by Owner.
Just VBO?
Vacation Rental by Owner, VRBO, Vacation Rental by Owner. And we started renting houses long ago because with 5 kids, a lot of hotels won't allow you to stay in them unless you buy the suites, which are very expensive.
Right.
And so then you have to get 2 hotel rooms, and that's not really fun. Plus, we like to cook. Plus, we like places to lounge around and sit on couches and talk and read and all of that. So we started renting houses long ago. We have found just inexpensive ways to do it. We've got, just on specials, looked up things, found places that are, where's the cheap places to fly right now or whatever. Anyways, that has become a real important place for us. And showing our kids the world has been important. And our youngest isn't that crazy about foreign travel, mostly because he often gets sick when he travels. The minute we arrive, I really think it's jet lag, and that he just gets tired and he has bad allergies. And so we have to really work through that when we're traveling. But we really want our kids to see different cultures, different way of living, just how things are different around the world, and leave the United States.
You need to really mentor your kids in this. You may not be a big traveler, but this is a great opportunity that you can hand your kids, that they can learn to not be afraid to go on their own. I remember when my son was a junior in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And my oldest son, number 1, and I said, okay, Stephen, because he really wanted to go backpack through Europe when he graduated out of high school. And I said, okay, I'm going to show you how. So we took about 3 weeks, and we both got backpacks, and we took off for Europe, and we just bummed around.
Did you even have an agenda, or you just had a round trip ticket? Like you were going and coming back?
Well, we had a rough agenda in the sense that you need to plan as much as you can, because in the summertime the hostels get full. We used hostels where you pay $25 a night, and that gives you a clean bed, typically with sheets, and a hot shower, and a breakfast in the morning. The breakfast sometimes could be just like a continental breakfast, but it's something. It's only $25, and you're in Europe, and usually hostels are right in the center of all the action of a major town. Now, there's some that are like couples friendly, and there's some that are just like college friendly.
College friendly.
Right. Because you need to try it sometime, but
they have family hostels too.
They do have family hostels. But the point is, so we planned a rough outline, and we just had the greatest time. And we ate whatever we want. And the funny thing is, I walk like 10 miles a day. I actually lost a little weight going over there. It shows you what just good walking to do.
And then the next year, our son on his own put a backpack on after he graduated from high school, and he went for 3 or 4 weeks to Europe, and he had no real agenda, because I remember even changing his flight to come back. So he bought a round trip ticket, but he didn't even follow what that was. And actually, the only way I was able to get him back cheap enough was he flew on 9/11 coming back, and people did not fly on that day back then.
Oh, really?
Like that was like, I don't know if felt like it was like a jinx day because of the horrific situation that happened here in the United States on 9/11. So he was able to get back on that flight, coming back on a 9/11 flight.
Right.
But anyways, we just have really tried to make it a priority. So whenever the kids are out on vacation from school, for instance, we just went to Disneyland, and we were only able to go like 4 or 5 days because our youngest is doing college and high school, which means he doesn't really get a vacation. When his high school's out, he's still got college. When his college is out, he's like right now he's off a week from college, but he has high school, so he doesn't get a week off. So we figured it out, like to leave after his class got out on Thursday and be back by the time his class started on Tuesday morning, while Caleb had no school at the high school. So we just kind of try and figure it out, but we are intentional about looking at our calendars and figuring out where we want to go and what works best for our family. But it also is just that time that you stop everything and you're spending that time together.
That quality one-on-one time, and that feeling. It's such a great feeling to give your kids that they can on their own go and conquer the world.
Yeah.
I mean, the next year that he was supposed to go with a friend, you didn't let me hit the clinch line.
Oh, right. Sorry about that.
Is that
we're back to Steven traveling to Europe.
We're back to Steven traveling Europe when he was supposed to go. His friend bailed on him like 3 weeks before, maybe.
I don't know. I don't remember.
And I was really bummed for him, and he just looked at me and he said, "Dad, I'm going to go by myself." So there goes my 18-year-old son, or I think he was 19 at the time, and he went to Europe on his own, and he conquered it. He did great. He ended up loving the island of Crete and ended up staying there almost 2.5, 3 weeks, just because the life was so good for young college people. And,
the thing about it is, it wasn't like he was going to any agenda, right? He wasn't going to a school over there. He wasn't going to visit family. He wasn't going to visit friends. He was going all by himself. I was a little bit of a stressed mother. I just and this is before we had really strong social media and phones. Now when we travel as a family, all of our phones work internationally. We usually have internet everywhere, or we can get internet off of our phones.
Right.
We're able to go buy SIM cards in different countries. Usually we get one for his phone. I mean, so we got it down how to travel now because there's so much more advanced technology. But back then, I would just wait for him to get to a hostel and send me a message, an email, like he was okay. I was like, okay, he's alive. He's alive. He's breathing today. But back to the whole traveling and vacations. It's just, even one year, we had no money. We had a staycation. We took the week and decided we were going to vacation in our own home, which meant we were not doing the typical home things, but we were going to get in the car every day and we were going to go someplace. One day we went south and we went to the ocean. And I guess that's not really south, east or west or whatever.
We went to the ocean.
We went to the ocean and we did like the go-karts down there and we just did fun things. Another day we went north, we went to Seattle, we went to the zoo, and we just did things that tourists would do if they were to come to Washington, only we had no hotel expense. We packed our lunches every day and packed our snacks and food, and I think we let ourselves like eat out dinner like twice that week or something.
Right.
Like we made it really special and doing things like maybe we'd stop and get milkshakes, but we wouldn't get a full meal. Again, we were on a incredible budget then, and that was how we did it. But we took the time to be together as a family. So we acted as if our home was a hotel. It was great.
You know, you have so many good places that you can go to in your own world that how many times you just don't do it because you're busy and it's home.
So another one, moving on, is speaking words of life into your kids. And not only are we trying to teach our kids about the fact that we speak words of life into them, we're wanting to, again, mentor them that this is what they should do to others. Speak words of life. I can't tell how many times I say to my boys as they head out the door to school, speak words of life today to your teachers, to your peers, to everybody you come in contact with. And that is just giving words of encouragement. If you've ever gone through a situation where you had a lot of words of what I call death spoken over you, this becomes extremely powerful to you. And so for me, I went through a really hard time a couple of years ago and had just a lot of words that were spoken to me and said to me about me directly to me that were not life-giving whatsoever. And it got in my head, and I had a struggle getting it out of my head. And that's a whole other topic of trying to get those words out of my head. And what happened is I had to have a lot of words of life spoken over me. And I grasped onto every time a friend would say something to me, every note that was sent to me, every walk with a girlfriend where she would just encourage me about things in my life. Every time my husband would say things, I grasped onto it. And he was amazing because he really continued to daily speak words of life into me. And so for me, I realized the importance of that over my kids' lives, that we have been doing that, and the ways that we've done it over their lives and now continue to do it was notes, like giving notes in their lunchboxes. Like we were religious when the kids were little, putting notes in their lunchboxes. We do it now through, at holidays, I've talked to you about I've made like 4-leaf clovers and I'm lucky because, and you write words of life on that to your fellow family member, right? Or I love you because on heart. So different holidays, we've done that at the dinner table, written these out, and then we read them out loud because it's really important to read them out loud to each other and to read yours out loud because then it just sinks in and you take it in. This isn't like something to be funny about. This is like serious. Like we're speaking what we believe about you into your life. You know, this last Valentine's Day, I put all those hearts all over my kids' doors of just words of life.
Right. Now, I think there's another dimension to this that's super important to remember, and it's something that I really consider a personal burden, is that you need to teach your kids how to speak life to others. Because, see, when they can start communicating it to others, it changes a lot. And so, I really see Savannah, our number 3, that it's more easier for her to speak life to others because of her personality stuff. But all our kids have now gotten to the point where they feel totally comfortable to give a compliment, to encourage somebody. You know, I tell our boys every day they go to school and they just kind of roll their eyes, but I say, you need to find the kid that nobody likes and you need to go up to them and you need to make them feel important. Yeah. You know, think of the kid that just for, things that aren't out of his control. Maybe as a family that, they don't give them good clothes, and we have several kids that we know that are foster kids, and they just don't have a lot. And my boys know them, and I said it's your job to speak life to them, make them feel important. I said if you make them feel important, your circle of friends will make them feel important. Yeah. And so anyway, I just think that's so important to pass it on.
Again, it's what did you say? Like when we do it, our actions teach our kids, right? So our actions is speaking life into them, teach them this is how we talk to other people as well.
Right. Close the loop. That's the point, because so many times we invest in our kids, but it's almost from a sense of fear, like we got to make sure that they measure up. This is a deeper thing. All the things we're telling you here is to prepare them to be independent and on their own. And sometimes that's sad to think we have to let them go. Yeah. But these are the tools that will make them super successful. It doesn't matter how much money they make or what they do, but it matters how they do it and why they live. And this gives them that why in their life.
A couple other ways that we in our home have used this whole philosophy of speaking words of life of our kids are, one, on our kitchen window. We have a big kitchen window, and I've written everybody's name using the chalk markers or the glass window markers, and everyone's name is there. And weekly, I write a new word with their name. So whether it's joyful, leader, we're looking at it right now, joyful, leader, influencer, kind, generous, whatever it is, I write a word next to their name. And so there's this long list of words going on that are just speaking words of life. And I even do it for those that don't live at our home. So when Maya comes home and Stephen comes home and John and Savannah come home, their names are on the window with lots of words for them of the things that we think about them.
Right.
So that's just a simple way to do it with your kids. And believe me, they see it, because one of my kids, my daughter, she came along and she wrote my name and Steve's name on the window as well, and started writing words for us on there. So they're getting it, right? It's been caught. Another way was your kids go off to camp, to summer camps. We always send them a little box of treats and things, and put a note.
She's good at this.
And put a note in it. Holidays, there's just so many. Social media, I love to send my kids social media things, whether it's just private messages or putting it on their actual Facebook pages of just, how much just a little cute little quote or something that means it, that's important. Words that I want to say to them. So anyway, speaking words of life is another one. Okay, another one of our family is faith and church. It's really important. Our commitment to our faith, which we are Christians, is really important that we pass that down to our children. And so since they were tiny, these little guys have been in church. They were in church their first Sunday of their lives. I don't think any of them missed their first Sunday of life, since most of them were born on a Tuesday. Weird enough, I have Tuesday babies. And so they were all back in church. First thing Sunday morning, they arrived at church. And so that's been a really important thing, and that's been a journey with us as we left being pastors into where do we plant ourselves again. And sometimes that's really where your kids are going to be happy. You go where your kids are happy, right? And so maybe it's not the most life-giving for you, but it's the most life-giving for your kids. And so we've kind of followed that little rule. Our senior pastor, Fulton Buntain, said it to me long time ago. You will go where your kids will be fed. You will go what makes your kids happy. That's the goal. And I've always remembered that, as we have had to change churches because our kids start attending a different youth group or get involved in that church.
Well, and that's why when Fulton was my boss and I was in charge of the youth group at our church, and it was a big church, I made sure the family's kids wanted to go there because I wanted to keep my job.
But that's been an important piece in our family. So whether it's praying with our kids, doing devotions with our kids, getting them in church, signing them up for every church camp. When the kids were all little, it was all the vacation Bible schools, right? They would go to vacation Bible school, even at different churches we didn't belong to. My girlfriends and I, we were on this habit of finding all the vacation Bible schools and having our kids go to them. Because the more that is, they're going to it and they're learning about the Lord, and they're learning verses and they're learning songs, the more that interests them as well. So.
And a lot of the things of faith, you have this whole place to help you, this church, their whole goal is to give those values. Whatever your value system is, for us it's a Christian faith. And so we go to churches that talk about the Bible and talk about Jesus Christ and who he is. I'm not saying that's what you do, but this is important to us. We feel strongly about it. We're convicted about it. We go out and serve the world and represent that. All right. And so we want that to be instilled in our kids, because living that kind of faith in an authentic way turns them into great individuals. And they have a sense of destiny, a sense of purpose. And that's what you want your kids to have, is to leave the time that they go out as a college person, that there is a sense of purpose in them. They may not know what that end result is, but they know that there's something special and for them to be called.
And it was being intentional, because it's not like we are shoving it down our kids' throats, but it's things like the music that we play in the car when they were little, the stories. We used a lot of Veggie Tale songs, and then we used these other ones called Odyssey, and those were the stories that my boys listened to all the time in the car when they were little. They're just like little stories on CDs, right? Then it was the books that we're reading. We read lots of mission-based books that were storybooks for kids. So it's like it's just part of our life, right? My daughter blames me today for the fact that she lives in Cairo, Egypt, and is now moving to China. I was talking to her yesterday. She was been working with these Sudanese women, and I'll have to share that story maybe next week with you guys about her experience the other day with working with these Sudanese women. But anyways, she blames me. She says, Mom, it's all your fault. You gave me all those books to read. You guys took me on these mission trips. Now, what do you want me to live in the United States? No, I want to live where the people are that I want to go and serve.
She's totally allowed to do it. We've given her grace to go out and serve the world until she has kids. And then she's called back home.
Yeah, you hope. But anyways, it's just become part of our family. It's not like we set our kids down and go, okay, today is your Jesus lesson. It's a part of our day-to-day life. It's all day long. It's part of who we are and what we represent and what we always refer back to for our kids. So when they're having struggles, we pray with them. When they're having good times, we pray with them. You know, so it's just one of those ongoing things.
We should save it.
Yeah. And that's pretty much, I mean, those are basically our, I think those were 8. I think we did 4 today and 4 yesterday.
Yeah.
And those are, I think, our top 8. And we'll have more to share with you as we move along in these different weekly or daily live stream shows. But we
just use this experience, and we're in the midst of it, but we're kind of on the other end of it where you might be just in the middle of starting your family. You need to glean as much truth from as many sources as you can and filter it through your own value system of what is important for you. Throw out the stuff. I mean, we've heard some stuff from advice. We thought, what the heck is that? Get that out.
Yeah.
And there was this whole time we had a bunch of friends following this whole new code of behavior for your children.
Well, yeah, it was called Growing Kids God's Way, as if somebody could put it all into a box and that was the only way.
And you water them that way. And
what was scary was there were some behaviors in it or things that they told you to do that were a little borderline child abuse. And there was actually a lot of court cases about it. There was a lot of, they had what was called baby wives too, and there were a lot of starving babies. Not to say that there weren't some really great principles and great things in those programs. Absolutely. But depends on the person that's reading it, right? So we all take in information differently. We all come from different backgrounds.
Right.
And if you're a really militant type of personality, some of that could be pretty dangerous because all of a sudden you're like reading it like it's the Bible and it's like for a word, you got to do exactly what it says rather than kind of being able to process that and decide whether that's really a good fit for your child and your family. So there were a few, I went to pediatricians, I went to other professionals, I went to and asked a lot of questions because I wanted to know before I started implementing some of these things into her home. We implemented some of those things and some things we went, nope, not for us, but this is for us. So that's one of the things you have to take is you always have to take something and read it and go, this works for us, this doesn't work for me. This works for us, this doesn't work for me. But hey, that might work for my friend, but that doesn't work for our family. So to decide for your own family what works, not everybody else's.
And that's a great freedom you have. So use your freedom and don't be afraid. Your kids are resilient.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do something and it doesn't work, you didn't permanently harm your kid, all right? But you need to just keep investing and learning and do what you can and work as a team.
Yeah. There's no baby manual handed to us when our kids are born and they say this is the exact way to raise a perfect child. There are no perfect children, no perfect families, no perfect marriages. So there you go. Thanks for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow on Friday for our Friday favorites, 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you then. Thanks for joining us.